All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He's Steve Prisciello, longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and also the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan, Steve. That pod will drop new episodes every Monday, but this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of random NBA thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after a busy Week 12 of the 2025-26 NBA season.
I'm
Steve,
always
are
ready.
you ready? Let's go. Clock is running. All right. We start in the West with what seemingly came out of nowhere. You wrote about KD and him being mad at the Phoenix Suns. Was his anger justified? What was all that
Well, the
about?
Suns, he believes the Suns are scapegoating him for being bad last year. And in a nice way, Earth to Kevin, when you make $60 million a year and you've made $598 million, I guess you're expected to win. They're not paying you because you're a good-looking guy. So it just makes no sense. Durant is a very sensitive man, it appears to be, from all the things you read and all the things he says. But at some point, you have to sit there and just say, yeah, I'm supposed to carry a team. He almost carried the Nets a couple of years ago to the championship if his foot was off the line. He would have probably beaten Milwaukee, and they probably would have won it. But since then, come on, let's compare. Phoenix was 11th last year with Kevin. They trade him. They get Dylan Brooks, who's having a tremendous year, and Jalen Green. And he's been out. He's only played 2 games. Good player. But Brooks has played well. But all of a sudden now, they're in 7th and they're 23-15. Doesn't that make you think maybe there's got to be more? I've got to produce. I've got to win to justify making all that money.
Yeah. It's an interesting question because I'm trying to look at the other angle here, right? When an employer pays you money, obviously the
That's
expectation
right.
is that you produce. Undeniable. Whether I pay you $1 million or $60 million, just produce. So, is it fair to say that if you're getting paid more, you've got a higher responsibility? Is
Of
that
course.
fair? Isn't the
Well,
responsibility
who are
just
you
to
going to blame
produce?
for Phoenix not being good last year? Royce O'Neal? Come on. Who you're expecting him? And let me just say something. Kevin Durant's a great player, just a great player, one of the greatest of
Yeah,
top 15 type player of all time, just great.
yeah,
However, also, and I'll add this: Kevin's not a guy people pay to see. He's got a great game. He can shoot, but people don't say, "I want to go see Kevin Durant tonight." They do say, and this is crazy. But they do say, and there's a point to what I'm going to, they do say a guy like Trae Young, who doesn't win, has had trouble winning, but people want to see him because he can play. He's a showboat in a lot of ways. And people don't mind paying to see him. So I understand. We're going to talk about that in a little while. I understand a team like Washington dealing for him because some Washington people, and their attendance is way down, will show up for that. But with Durant, you're getting paid for one reason: win. That's it. It's not people coming
yeah.
like when Durant comes to town, people are buying tickets. Great player, but not the charismatic, fun
Yeah.
guy to watch.
So my argument is, are you paid to win or are you paid to produce? Because KD produced. His numbers, I'm looking at him right now with the Suns, equal what he did before and even after with the Rockets. He produced. The team just didn't win. Is that his fault
Does
or is that the GM's
Well,
fault
he
for
gets the
putting the
most
wrong team
money,
together?
but does the owner make a lot of money if a team goes to the finals and wins? More money than he would if the team came in
Yeah.
11th. So
Yes.
therefore, Kevin is an investment by the owner, and the owner's hoping for a return. He's a big investment. He's not
Yeah.
paying 12 million or something to Royce O'Neal. He's paying 60 million. Think about that for a while. That's 5 times what other guys get. Easy five. And a rookie, it's almost
Yeah.
about 25 times what they get. So who are you going to blame? Who are you going to blame?
Right.
I look at the best player on a team and hope that he can produce and he can win you a championship. Kevin has had a type thing. He went to Golden State, and I guess he was happy being the number two guy and to win a championship, and he won two. And that took that pressure away from him. But Kevin making 60, usually 60 million is your number one player. How many titles does he have? Two. Where did he get them? With Steph?
Yeah,
Yeah,
as number
you
two.
know.
I got it. All right. Let's pivot a little, right? We'll stay in Phoenix, but we'll move off of KD and we'll talk about the Suns. You brought it up. They're playing really good basketball. They're fun to watch. They're young and they're hungry and they're playing like it, right? So the Suns moved from that superstar KD to a roster of young and hungry teams and somehow got better. It doesn't, that math doesn't math up, right? How are they better? What do you think the
Well,
key
there's
is
a
in
couple things.
Phoenix?
First thing I'll say is about the young legs and young players. I think the league is turning over to a young league, young
Yeah, we talked
players.
about that. Yeah.
But putting that aside, when they traded Dylan Brooks is the villain, Dylan the villain. And but you know what?
Sure.
Suddenly he's scoring over 20 points a game. He has the ability. He's the guy that if he's on your team, you love him. If he's on any other team against your team, you hate him.
Yep.
He's an agitator.
Yep.
He's a good defender, and he's a good player. Guys like that who play hard and play to win, those guys are infectious. There's more to it. Matt Ishbia, the owner of Phoenix, thought, and naturally anybody who buys a team, and he bought the team a couple of years ago, I get the best players, I win, I look brilliant. Well, he learned a lesson. He bought Beal and he bought Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
traded a lot for him. And what he found was it's not that easy. And it's more about dynamics among a team. And by the way, Booker, Devin Booker, is good enough to be the number one guy on the team. And you surround
Mm,
him with some players. The other thing that was interesting, and I just want to remind you, the guy played with the Lakers, but they got I'm not played, he was traded to the Lakers, and then he canceled the deal, was Williams. Yeah,
oh,
playing real well. He's only playing 23 minutes or so, 24. He's averaging 12 and 8, which isn't bad. And the Lakers would have loved to have a guy like that. And they canceled the deal for medical reasons. But he's another one. And then they're getting contributions from Grayson Allen. And then the interesting find is Colin Gillespie. 13 points, near 5 assists a game, and he can play. And he was on the scrap heap. So what the owner is learning, you don't necessarily have to go out there and get the best names as much as it's putting a team together.
right.
That's why we talk about a little bit, and I've said to you, teams that are trying to hold on go out and just get bodies and name players, but sometimes they don't fit. This team fits together. You watch them play, and they almost like playing together,
Yeah.
and they do the little things. The other night against the Knicks, Royce O'Neal, down the stretch, 2 point game, hits a three. He's getting the ball. Well, do you think for a minute if Luca had the ball, and I'm using Luca, I'm not trying to pick on him, but if he had the ball with a minute left, down by
Yeah.
by two, do you think Luca would be thinking of throwing the ball at Royce O'Neal? If you do, okay, but I don't think he would. There's a difference there,
Yeah.
and it showed.
Outstanding. Yeah, we talk a lot about it before. The difficulty of a GM putting a team together. You have to have the right pieces, not the best player, right? The best player isn't often times the right piece. And so that's a lesson learned. And it's good to see success in Phoenix. Let's talk
Generally,
about,
should be the last piece of putting a team together, not the first piece. Those are the people
there you
because
go.
you're drafting and trying to get people that fit into
Yeah.
something, and then maybe we're one player away, and then not for a star as much like a Dylan Brooks who can bring you help you.
Okay. So that is a great segue, a great lob, a great softball. There was a trade this week, and it was a big one, right? The Washington Wizards have gone all in. They didn't give up much, admittedly, but they brought in Trae Young. Trae Young's excited to be there, which is pretty rare because not a lot of people want to go to Washington to play basketball. Young wants to be there. He's a phenomenal talent. Again, they didn't get a lot back. It was basically cap space. Are you surprised at that trade? And based on what you just said, is this Washington just trying something
Well,
out to see
there's
what
two
happens?
pieces to that we're not talking about. The first piece to that is the Washington Wizards are in a long rebuild. And what they're finding is nobody's showing up. Their attendance is worse than the league.
Yeah.
So now the owner is going to get involved, and he's going to want. Obviously, he's trying to make money. So Ted Leonsis, what he's doing, he probably, I believe, he put the onus there. Let's get somebody here that'll bring people here. So that Trae Young's perfect for that. Now the price was very cheap.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum's still good. He's still a good player, but he's got an expiring contract. So Atlanta
Yeah.
gets that, and then they can go out and get a free agent. And they also got Corey Kispert, who can shoot the ball, but he's a mid-level player at best. But for Trae Young, his value, and it tells you where the game is. He doesn't defend. He's small. The league is placing a premium on bigger guards. He can't defend. He's not that big, and it used to be cute when he'd throw up those 30-foot shots. And because he made some of them, he doesn't make them as much as he used to. So
Yeah.
his game has gone back. You begin to wonder if you can win with him. For Washington, he's perfect at this time because Washington is just trying to draw some people and let their young people begin to develop. And they do have some young people who can develop. So it fits
Yeah.
perfect, and they get him cheap. And by the way, don't be surprised if Trae Young doesn't play a lot for the rest of the year because Washington, though they've been bad, have not gotten a great number pick in the draft the last couple of years. So I think this draft is good. And if you can finish in the bottom four, the chances are you're going to get a pretty good player, meaning worst records in the league. So I think that's what
Yeah.
Washington figures: get one more big time player, and maybe we can turn this thing. Because I believe Sarr's a pretty nice player. I like Johnson. There's a couple guys that aren't bad. Kalalabi, Bub Carrington is pretty good. So they've got some pieces. They still need a big time player, and it might come. Sarr would be a good number two. You know, that's my take. What
Yeah.
do you think about Trae
Interesting.
Young?
Oh, yes. Ian, we talk about it all the time. I'm in the West Coast. I don't get to see a lot of East Coast basketball. So all I know is what I see in the highlights. And really, I haven't seen him play a game beginning to end that mattered because they haven't been in a lot of games that mattered. So I don't know, man. I think that he's a fun basketball player to watch. I think defensively challenged, right? So when you take a look at he's young, and we talk about the league as being young, that kind of that winning mentality. Before we started the show, we talked a little bit about that switch that some teams and some players don't have. It doesn't seem to me that Trae Young has it, but he hasn't had an opportunity to prove that he has or doesn't have it. So to me, I don't know. He's just a player right now. I don't know a whole lot about him other than what I've seen in the highlight reels. But I do know a lot about Anthony Davis.
That's a
How's
great
that for a
segue.
smooth segue? Anthony, thank you very much. Anthony Davis is hurt again, no surprise. He played in only 18 to 38 games for the Mavs, which stops any likelihood of a trade. He was on the trade block. At least there was some discussion. On the other hand, Luka's an MVP candidate for the Lakers. I just feel for the Mavericks, man. Although they've got a great player in Cooper Flag, but this is a really bad trade, a shockingly bad trade, and it just
Well,
keeps getting worse for Dallas. What's your
he
take?
first of all, he's played 20 games, I believe. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I thought anyway, not important. He's got 2 more years. He signed through 20. He's got a player option in 27, 28. So he's got this year, next year, and the year after because he'd be crazy not to take the 60 million player option. So he'll have 2 years left after the season on a deal, 1 year plus. And I'm sure if he got traded, he'd put the pressure for them to extend him. But
Yeah,
the Mavericks lose the chance to deal him this year, probably, unless somebody takes an injured man. And he could be out for a while if he gets surgery and so on and so forth. But my thought about Davis is a great talent. I don't know if he really loves playing, and I don't know if he really has that desire to play, and like a Jalen Brunson, who he just exudes playing and loves to play, and you just watch it, and it's fun to watch. I don't know if he's got that, and I don't know if he takes himself. He came into the season heavy. You don't do that. If when you're making 60 million, you're really saying not a nice thing to the owners. But the point being, my take is the most important piece is that he's going to be out, probably not going to get traded. Dallas wants to begin their rebuild. I think they're also going to have to talk to Kyrie after the season. Kyrie, do you want to stick around or what do you want to do? because they've got some real problems here, and they've got to begin to start over with it.
Yeah, and you're right. I wrote it down wrong. It was 20, not 18. So we got to give AD his props for those two extra games. But yeah, tough situation at the end of the day for Dallas. And again, to me, it's just a
Well,
bad trade. Just keeps getting
this
worse
part,
and worse.
and each of these guys we're talking about today, 2 years ago they would have gotten the heck what Davis got Luca. There would have been a great Trae Young 2 years ago. Teams would have, and I would think Quinn Snyder came in and thought maybe he can be the one that unlocks Trae Young. And
Yeah,
with Davis, he did win a
yeah,
title with LeBron, in that dark year where nobody was there, but he did win a title, and so you give him his
yeah.
due, but you just have to wonder.
Yep, yep. That's funny. I envision Quinn Snyder
Yeah.
going, I could change him. I could change him.
Just one other
But
thing, some
yeah,
guys that play in the NBA, some guys are made to be your top player and be like LeBron. LeBron's great, but also they're role
yeah,
models for the rest of the team. And there's a bunch of them. Jalen Brunson, again, going back to him, he's one of them, where he works hard, practices hard, plays hurt, and is always ready to go. The rest of the team follows that. If Anthony Davis is your top player, what does the rest of the team see with him? And that's an important piece because the guys that come
yeah.
in and bust their ass every day are the ones, great examples for the rest of the team.
Yep. Yep, undeniable. Let's talk about another guy who's likely now going to be traded. Trae wasn't traded for much. Do you expect a different haul for the often injured
I
John
think he'll
Morant
get a
out of
little bit
Memphis?
more. I think the biggest thing with him is his shooting numbers have gone down from the outside. And I think every person thinks I think he'll a tad more than what was dealt for Trae Young. Memphis is in a they're technically I think they're going to start building around Jaren Jackson, which is the right thing to do. Will they get a haul? I don't think so, but they'll get something, even if it's expiring contracts. What's really interesting to me, one of the teams that's supposedly interested in him is the Milwaukee Bucks. And think about that. For a while, that gets really interesting. I guess they can send Kuzma and Portis and all to match the money. But just think about that. You got John now with Giannis. That's interesting. It could be fun. I don't know how good it could be, but it could be fun to watch. There's a couple places. The Clippers have been mentioned as a place that he can end up. So, yeah, I think there's a more of a market for him than there was for Trae Young. I think Washington was the only team interested in Trae, where there's a couple teams, so maybe they can get more for him.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm looking at his contract, 40 million roughly annually, which in today's standards, that's almost feels like a bargain, which is crazy. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. It probably will not be Memphis
No.
at year's end, though. Let's talk about this because I love the poetry of it. The Knicks owner came out and talked a little bit, and not directly talking about Coach Thibodeau. And he said one of the reasons he is no longer the coach is because he did not collaborate with the hierarchy of the Knicks, which to me is poetic. But what does that mean? And why is it important
When
to the Knicks?
when you hear owners talk and you wonder why they never won a title, when he talks like that, then you understand. You hired Tom Thibodeau years ago. You knew what he was. He likes to run the show and do whatever. And he's very hard headed, I guess would be the way to put it. You knew that. The team was getting better every year. Last year, they pulled an upset off and they beat the defending champions in the playoffs. Not bad. You're getting better. You're getting
Yeah,
closer. I know he plays everybody too many minutes and all the other stuff. What, as an owner, do you want to be collaborating with these people? In other words, he was upset nobody was listening to his opinion and so on. Do you want to be a collaborator or do you like winning? If I'm the owner, first of all, I know I don't know as much basketball as these people, so just listen and don't talk.
yeah,
And second of all, that's why I hired these people and I paid them a lot of money. I like winning. So if I have to shut up and just sit in my seat and watch the games, I'll do it to win. It's not my ego is the fact that we win, not that I got to say something about getting Jalen Brunson or somebody. So it just strikes me as one of the craziest things that I've heard. And then you begin to say to yourself, that's why they don't win. where they don't win titles. What's your
Yeah.
take?
Again, East Coast team. So I'm going to preface everything I say with they're not under a microscope for me. But what's interesting to me, I'm looking at their record, and yeah, they improved. It was incremental, 37 to 47 over the years under Tibbs, 47 to 50 or 50 the next year, 47 50, 50 51. So they were getting better. It's undeniable. And then all of a sudden, you pull the rug out from under a coach that you hired. I my when I think about what I would do as a coach, or not a coach, if I were fortunate enough to ever own a team, you nailed it. Really, you hire people and then you're hands off, and you get involved when it becomes the opposite of what we were seeing with the Knicks. Instead of incremental progress, I'm seeing incremental, traveling in the other direction. Then I get involved. So it sounds to me like there are coaches who've got that reputation. The gentleman in Sacramento getting a little too involved. There was an owner in I think Memphis, the young guy in Memphis who originally got a little too involved. It happens. Now people are thinking maybe even here in LA, right? Bombers getting a little too involved and making some mistakes. I don't know, man. I just feel for the Knicks and their Knicks fans, great fans. I know that's
No,
debatable, but I was
they're fervent.
around when
Yeah.
there was a playoff
Well,
game. I was lucky enough to be in New York around a playoff game. I didn't get to go in Madison Square, but I was outside, talked to some fans, and they're
yeah.
passionate basketball fans and just deserve a good team and they deserve a good season. I'm hoping that
But
happens for them at some point. But
you
that's my
know,
take. I don't.
here's the crazy thing too, and if you look it up, I believe Tibbs had about 3 or 4 more years. They just re-signed him the summer before to 3 or 4 more years at a high. So in other words, Dolan worried about his little, I don't know, money or whatever he's worried about. Not money, about his say. Worried about his say in the team. He's going to eat 30, $40 million. It's just absolutely crazy to me. But it makes no sense. And by the way, if you really think about Tibbs, perfect place for him right now, Sacramento. Perfect place. Perfect.
Okay.
Because he can go in and he can clean house and figure out where to go with the GM and just, but you know what, GMs don't want to lose power with him, so he won't get hired. But again, you know what you're getting when you're the Knicks hiring him or anybody else. But Sacramento's been looking for something for years. People like that
Yeah.
might be able to give them away. Now, you talk about Bomber. Bomber tells his vision. He wants to be competitive every year. Those
Yep.
people make their decisions accordingly. If you understand what I'm saying. So it's different teams like Washington, the owner knew they were bad. Look, it's going to be a project. So it'll take 4, 3, 4, 5 years. Do what you have to do. It's a different vision. So that's an important piece to putting a
Yeah.
team together.
Yeah. Not an easy job, undeniably a difficult job. But let's talk about a team. The buzzer went off, but we got one more topic. We'll go rapid fire on this one. But this is a team that has really had some incredible success putting their team together, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. We played around thinking, I asked the question tongue in cheek, are they going to go 82-0? And it certainly looked like it was possible, maybe an 80-2 win. But now the 73 win Golden State Warriors look like they have nothing to worry about from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Just a speed bump in an 82 game season, or are you worried
Well,
about the
I think
Thunder?
what it did was it made every team who was thinking, this isn't our year. We got I think about 6 teams maybe now saying we might have a shot and maybe we got to look at the trade market
Maybe. Yeah.
and see what we can do. And by doing that might mean trading a future number one and things like that. But you know what? When you have a shot, you got to go all in. So that's what that did.
Yeah.
They've been 6-4 and 6-4 over the last 10 games. That's not good for them, their standards. And
Yeah.
generally, just about every night
Yeah.
they play, they're the favorite. And that's on the road as well as home. So it really, I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened, but it's just not good.
Yeah. For the first time since we've been tracking this year, the 2-2 they had a 2-2 week this week, and it dropped them out of the number one in our objective power rankings. Detroit
Oh,
is now the number one team, so there's a little bit of a because we haven't released that yet. But if you're watching this now, the Pistons passed them because yeah, the Thunder are struggling a little bit. But listen, I'm not worried. But the shot clock went off. Another shot clock violation for us is what we do. But our time, of course, is up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you're watching or listening to the show to get all of his thoughts after week number 12. And of course, please subscribe, comment, follow. All of that stuff means the world. And we're grateful for all of it. Join us next week. for more NBA random thoughts as we recap week number 13. We'll
Take
talk
care.
then. Thanks, Steve.